Welcome to Be a Voice. This is Britt Carpenter on Usula Radio. Thanks for joining me today. I'm really excited about today's show as we are actually broadcasting, not from the studio, but today we are broadcasting from a very unique location. We have come out today into the community on one of the probably most rainiest days we've seen in a while to the corner of 2nd and Huntington for a camp out for peace for our good friend Roz Pichardo of Operation Save Our City. Hey Roz, how are you?
Hey, hola.
How's it going?
It's going good. It's wet out here.
It is wet out here, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, Roz, I know what you're doing out here because I've been along for the ride for the last 4 years. Tell our listeners, what are you doing out here, especially in this crazy rain today?
So I am here. I'm in the tent as my brother is saying he's got soup for me. So we're here at the tent. We're camping out for peace in honor of so many folks who've been affected by gun violence. And so I'm here to bring awareness to all of the unsolved cases in Philly.
So, as most of our listeners know, and anybody who knows you, Roz, they know that you are a huge advocate in the community, and you started your advocacy work in the aspect of going to bat for your brother.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
It's all because of what happened. How many years has that been now?
It's been 7 years.
7 years.
Mm-hmm.
7 years since this occurred, and this is your seventh camp out.
Seventh camp out.
So, okay, so let's talk about it. You're doing it every year, 7 years in January. You know, you can pick June when it's nice out and everything. Why do you do it in January? I mean, last year it was rainy, it was ugly. The year before, it was a little bit cold, a lot cold. The year before, it was a blizzard. Why January?
So January is a challenging month in so many ways. So my brother was murdered in January, but also it's challenging to come out here and come outside of your element and sleep outside for 3 days. And I think it brings more awareness when people know that, yeah, my brother died on the cold winter grounds when it was snowy, icy, and his body laid on the middle of the streets of North Philly. And case is currently unsolved. So I'm trying to bring awareness in every way possible to the gun violence in Philly.
What symbolism that is, that's something to really wrap your head around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just the way you were even just describing it, you know, the imagery that it conjures up, you know, so for the listeners out there, you know, let that sink in a little bit. Let that sink in that, you know, if you're going to be doing, you know, advocacy, you need to be doing advocacy when it's time, not when it's time for you. It's
Absolutely.
time to, you know, speak up, you know, for the victims.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it certainly wasn't time for me. I felt like it wasn't time for me. Like, you know,
Right,
I felt
yeah.
like really tired and exhausted from even coming up to this point of camping out. You know, it takes so much planning and so much mental and emotional work to build up to get to the actual camp out.
Has it grown?
It's grown where we have more people stopping by.
Yeah.
We have more media coverage. We have more families wanting to participate and sharing their loved ones with us, loved ones that I didn't even know passed away. Like last night, we had about maybe 10 new images that were put up on the fence that were put up by other folks.
So people you don't know just come by and they put up images of their loved
Yes.
ones that they lost. And that
Yeah.
connection is there because that they know that you're going to be that voice.
Absolutely.
That is needed.
Yeah, just like, you know, my friend Heather, who learned about this camp out through the news, came by and dropped off an image of her boyfriend Flacco, who was murdered in 2015. Case is currently unsolved, and she has a 7-year-old kid that's left with no father. So, yeah, people that I never met before, that people need to know that this happens. I don't know these folks, but I know the pain. I know the loss.
And that's one thing that I think separates you from a lot of people is that there's a lot of people out there that can give sympathy. Sympathy is something that's so easy. Oh, I'm sorry. I send my well wishes. I send my thoughts. I send my prayers. But what you give is you give empathy. You give understanding. You give people the human side of the tragedy and the trauma, and you bring it to light where people are able to relate to you. And, you know, by seeing you on the news and having Heather come down today and bring that picture and to share her story is just an amazing thing, because here's a stranger who had nothing to gain, you know, but just connecting with somebody who shares her pain.
Yeah, I always want to be able to show some hope that one day that our cases will be solved. And if it doesn't, then we still have each other. We have that connection of what can we do different to try to get it solved? What can we do different maybe for another family? What can we do different? Like Maria Martinez, who came last night, who they know who the shooter is. He posted bail, but the fact that she came out anyway to support people whose cases are unsolved. So it just takes so much more than just coming out and camping out. It's just really trying to connect with people and just bring hope to the community.
And how many cases are unsolved currently in Philadelphia?
I want to say between 60 and 75% of the cases are unsolved.
60 to 75% of the homicides
Are unsolved.
In the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Let's
And
wrap our heads around that as well.
No, let's wrap our head around the fact that we're on the 25th day of January. We have 32 murders.
Well, and this
So
seems to be a
that's
very, and I hate to use this word because it's sort of maybe like, deprioritized, but like each year it's the same old thing. It's like no matter how many days we have in the year, we have more homicides.
Yeah.
There are more murders in our city than there are
Yeah.
days of the year each and
Yeah.
every year. We have not had one year been like, oh wow, we came in under 365. It doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
No.
And what's it going to take, Roz? What do you think it's going to take at this point? You've been out here on these streets.
We need more opportunity for folks who are, one, coming home from prison. We need more opportunity for jobs, more education. We need so many things, so much more in this community for it to thrive and for folks to survive this battle. It's like,
Right. So do you think that transitional skills are really important for people then?
Yes.
To be able to come out and to survive? And do you think
Yes.
that would help not taking people back a few steps then?
Well, I think when folks are coming out, you want to make sure they don't come out to commit the same crime. So give them skills give them an opportunity. Like maybe we have the new project that came out with Rock Ministries where they come out and they work for 4 hours and they get paid. And you're talking about people who are homeless or people in active addiction who just want an opportunity. So that's what that project is giving them. And then you have the Gill, who is about justice, a restorative justice. People are coming home and need an opportunity. Many of them are artists, or many of them have this craft, like learning contractor skills, all these things that they can learn through so many organizations.
So many different outlets, so many organizations. And it's funny because I think one of the most important things that's lacking out there are these transitional skills for most people.
Mm-hmm.
We had the young lady stop by who said she's been living in the community for how long? How many years?
40 years, right?
Yeah,
40
like
years.
upwards of that many years. And
She tried to leave and she couldn't.
She said, I want to get out. I want to leave. And you said, well, you are out. She goes, I want to get out of here. She goes, but I can't. I can't do it. And I think a lot of that also deals with the fact that there aren't transitional skills in the community on a community level. And that's where it's got to start. Because if it starts on the community level, it can really then trickle over to those who are coming out of prison and being released. It can really, affect the children as the children are growing. So, she said it really well. She can't get out. And that's a reason.
Yeah.
But we talk about the trauma. We talk about the fact that there's these things happening out there. But there are good things happening in this community.
Yeah.
And one of those good things is somebody sitting here with us.
Catherine.
We have Catherine Pennepacker with us.
Pennepacker in the house.
Yes. Hey, Britt. Hey, Roz.
How are you today?
I'm feeling all right. It's nice and toasty inside your tent here, your two-bedroom tent, as we call it. We were laughing this morning, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the listeners need to know that, right now we are inside of Roz's deluxe accommodations at 2nd and Huntington, which is a 2-bedroom tent. Right now she has the partition up, so it is a one open room. And we're sitting in here, and right now there is 6 of us sitting around. And she has an electric heater. We have Dylan over here recording. We have Israel over here, who has spent the night in the tent as well. We have Heather still here, who came down to meet Roz because she saw her this morning on the news. But yeah, we have Catherine here. And Catherine is somebody who works with us in the community. And Catherine does a lot of good things. And I'm going to actually hand the mic over to Catherine and let her talk a little bit about what it is she does, who she is, and why she comes out and supports us, especially on ugly days like this.
Right. Hey, Britt. And Roz, it's just great to be
Take the mic,
here.
Catherine.
I mean, this morning, right? So this morning I was just like, man, it's pouring rain out, right? It's pouring rain out. And Roz, you're in your tent, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, rain, snow, sleet, hail, it doesn't stop the homicides that we're seeing around, and it doesn't stop the homelessness that we're seeing around. It doesn't stop, our dear hearts that are in areas all around the city that are struggling with addiction. And I was just like, I want to be with my people that I love, that I respect. And Roz, you're one of those people, right? So it's like, I wanted to get from Germantown out here, so I hopped on 3 different buses in the pouring rain and the wind. But I was just like, it's important that we all show up for one another's advocates, right? So,
And one of the things you just said right there is something that I preach forever, and Roz says as well. And those two words will get you anywhere, and that's show up. Just show up. No matter how it is that you get there, show up. The rest of it will fall into place.
Right.
You'll find that connection. You'll find that bond. You'll find sometimes that solace in the comfort of the most strange and unusual places if you just show up.
Right, exactly.
And you took 3 buses to show up today.
I did. It's funny because at home I totally unloaded my backpack of stuff, right? Knowing that it was going to get soaked and wet, whatever I did bring. So all that's in my backpack is yarn and scissors with the full intent of doing a big heart shag on your fence right out here.
Okay. So let's go back to the yarn and scissors. I was like, yarn and scissors. That's like the making of a movie. So why do you have yarn and scissors in your backpack, Catherine? What is it you do?
Okay, so I'm a textile artist, like a community artist, and I really love finding places that need a little love and a little art. So oftentimes I'll just stealth move, find a abandoned, neglected lot somewhere in a neighborhood that's been overlooked, and put a heart shag out of yarn, and just make it, hang out for the day, make it, and people walk by, have beautiful conversations, and just leave it for the community. So that's sort of my way of just being with the community.
I love it. So you yarn bomb the community with hearts.
I do, yeah.
These shag hearts that you put on fences, that you put wherever you can find some room to put them up.
Exactly.
How many hearts have you put up so far, Catherine?
There's probably 15 or more around the city.
Yeah?
Different colors, yeah.
Different colors?
Yeah.
Are the colors symbolic for anything in particular, or whatever you have enough yarn of? Or?
Yeah, just kind of just to have each one be a little different, yeah.
Well, so it's one thing that you go around the city and you do that, but what's the purpose for yourself that you do this?
Britt, I just love people. I love little random conversations that I make that connect me with people, right? So it's some of us don't always have direct connections to a particular tragedy, but we're all somehow so connected by the heart, right? There's family, there's love, there's connection, there's friendship, there's, we all breathe. No one, there's nothing we did to have the sun or the rain show up in the morning, right? There's not. So it's a little bit of a miracle that we're even here together. So when possible, I like to just hang out and share some loving.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love how that just really flowed so naturally too. That it came from the heart. It was so sincere that and that is the way you are. Your connections. You love the connections. And I watch it. I've seen you put the hearts up. I've seen you in action. I've seen you at the Kensington storefront on Kensington Avenue when you run your Tuesday and textile. Your tea and textiles on Tuesdays.
Right, with Lisa.
From what time to what time?
10 to noon, and then 1 to 3 with Lisa Kelly. Yep.
10 to noon and 1 to 3 with Lisa Kelly. You run the Tuesday tea and textiles for the Kensington storefront. What does that do for the community?
Well, it's all about belonging, connection, purpose, meaning. I mean, we're all trying to figure out, how to solve murder mysteries, homicide mysteries. I don't want to call it an opioid epidemic. It's a despair epidemic, right? So it's how do we rather than put Band-Aids on situations, find ways of making connections. So to answer your question, it's about bringing belonging, connection to people. So that's what we're trying to do right now.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So thanks for being here. And Roz, more than anything, just being here and supporting you, that's what it's about. Because we've known each other for probably 5 years only, right? But it's just a ongoing friendship that grows and deepens, love, respect, right? And yeah. And Britt, you too.
Oh, Catherine, you're awesome. Thank you so much for staying, hanging out for this. I
Sure,
appreciate it.
of
Thanks for
course.
coming out today.
Yeah, of course.
And Raj, you want to say anything to Catherine?
I love you so much, girl.
Awesome. Catherine, thank you once again. And everybody, check out Catherine Pennepacker and the Healing Blanket Project, and also her Tuesday Tea and Textiles down at the Kensington storefront. We'll be back in a few minutes. This is Britt Carpenter. It'll be a voice on Usula Radio. Welcome back, everybody. This is Britt Carpenter with Be a Voice on Usula Radio. Thanks for joining me today. Today we are broadcasting from the Camp Out for Peace at 2nd and Huntington. That is done for the 7th year in a row now by our good friend Roz Pichardo of Operation Save Our City. It is done because she speaks out against all the unsolved homicides here in our city, speaks out against the gun violence that is occurring in our city, and it's just a voice for all the victims and their families of this tragedy that occurs daily within our city. So, Roz, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for coming.
I just love you so much, Roz. And one thing that I love about you, Roz, is that when you do this, it brings the community together in such a great sense. We have, people coming in and out the tent all day.
Yes.
You do. People bringing you food, lots of food.
Well, I need food. I can't leave the tent.
No, exactly. And now that she's become a master of social media, she ain't afraid to put it out there. Bring me orange juice. Bring me snacks.
I need snacks, please.
But what she doesn't put out there when she says what she needs is, bring me a Fireball bottle. Bring me a bottle of wine so I can warm myself up on a cold night.
No shame in my game.
No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I think she's doing a little bit of homemade mimosas right about now. She's got her champagne and she puts it right inside her little Tropicana bottles and shakes it up, and hey, you got to do what you got to do.
It's brunch time
You're in a
somewhere.
tent. It's brunch time somewhere.
We're having urban brunch.
I love that, urban brunch. That might be a new phrase nowadays. Yeah.
Listen, you got a makeshift table, you got mimosas, and you have some snacks. That's an urban brunch.
Well, let's get her some urban appetizers then and get rid of this, But anyway, Roz, you do such amazing things in this city. Your voice reaches so many platforms, reaches so many people. You and I have walked together in this crazy little fight for humanity for the last 5 years as well. We've seen some really crazy and wild, out there on the streets. We both have experienced our fair share of trauma and tragedy in our worlds. And we continue to do that today, with the people that we're meeting and what's happening. And we're learning each and every day.
Yeah, and what people don't understand is when we're dealing with folks, whether it's an active addiction or people suffering from loss, we live through the vicarious trauma of that. People are telling us their pain and sharing their pain with us. And at the end of the day, we feel that, we see that, and it stays with us. It's not like an app on your phone that you can just take off. That stays with us,
We absorb it.
Yeah, we absorb it, we feel it, we're living in it. And until that we can properly take care of ourselves as crisis responders by, self-care.
Self-care. Roz is going to come up with a manual for self-care.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Roz Guide to Self-care.
Yeah.
We should write that. Make some, we can anyway. But, leading into what you're saying about, the people that come by and they share their tragedy and they share their trauma. This morning on the news, your face was all over because the news was out here last night talking about the great thing that you're doing out here. This young lady named Heather saw you on the news and she brought a cab. Heather is with us. Hi, Heather. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well, thanks. Heather, you came from where today? What area?
I came from Juniata.
From Juniata today, all the way down here
Yes,
to
I did.
2nd and Huntington, because you woke up this morning and what happened? What brought you out here today?
Because I was watching Fox 29 this morning, drinking coffee, and I saw her on the news. And this is my flaco. His real name is Alexis Rosado Catalá, and he got shot and killed in cold blood murder in 2015. And his case is still unsolved. I saw him shot and killed in cold blood murder at 9 o'clock in the morning. And it's ridiculous. The gun violence in the city is ridiculous. Because every time you turn on the news every day, Every time. 5, 6, 10, 11, every time. And somebody's always getting shot. It's ridiculous. And this gun violence is ridiculous because you don't know what this gun violence is over. It's over drugs, it's over money. It's ridiculous in the city of Philadelphia.
So
And-
Heather, Flacco,
Yes.
2015, you witnessed this?
I did.
You were there.
I was sound asleep, sleeping, and people came running to wake me up. And I jumped up out of bed. I left my daughter sleeping. I just ran around the corner and I saw him laying in the doorway shot. And I just screamed his name and I fell to my knees. They even recorded me screaming his name and put it on Facebook. And people saw me screaming his name, laying in, and it was, yeah. I mean, like, that man was my world. Like, that man was my ride or die partner. I was with that man for 7 years. I met him when I was 18 years old.
18 years old.
I met him. Yep.
And how old was he when he was?
He was 30. He came from Puerto Rico. He just came here in Philadelphia, and I met him. Yes.
Wow. So, in these last 5 years, what's your life been like? What's it been like trying to, recover from
I
this?
I never can heal. Never.
Never?
Like,
You
never.
really- no?
Like, no. Like, that man was my world. Like, he was my ride or die partner. Like, everything. Nobody can tell me anything about this man that I don't know.
And it's unsolved at the moment.
Yes.
Yes.
Like nobody will talk. It was even witnesses. You can even Google it on YouTube and you even see somebody running up the block.
So if somebody does want to Google this or YouTube it and might see somebody on there that they may know, where can they find it? What would they look up?
You can look up Kensington and Westmoreland, the murder.
Kensington and Westmoreland, the murder in 2015?
Yeah.
And
you
it's
see-
Alexis
and-
Rosado Flacco.
Yeah, and you see somebody running up the block.
And I think it's really important that you said that, like, people can Google this. You can see this.
Yeah.
Google it, see it, watch it. If you see something and you recognize it, say something, people. It's the only way we're ever going to come together as a community
and
is by everybody speaking up. So I hope somebody sees something and says something.
Nobody wants to talk. Nobody.
Why do you think that is?
Because nobody wants revenge. Because nobody wants. I guess nobody wants to talk because nobody wants to get killed.
I think people are afraid to talk.
Yes.
It's a
It
shame.
happened at 9 o'clock in the morning in broad daylight. So people was driving by, people was walking. Somebody saw something.
I'm gonna give the mic to Roz right now. I'm gonna let Roz, what advice can you give to Heather? What can you tell her? You've been living with this for 7 years, and there's a lot of trauma here, a lot of pain.
I mean, the fact that she's here speaks volumes because some people won't even come here to show their image, or people won't even try to express how bad they're hurting because of their loss. So keep doing what you're doing and keep sharing the image on social media, and just also remember there's a $20,000 reward for any homicide that happens in Philly. So keep sharing it. Sometimes the $20,000 can be an incentive for somebody to speak up. And thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. That means like you want justice. You want that for your loved one.
Yeah.
So you just keep coming.
Like, I even go and I sit on that step where he got killed, and I even sit there and I even cry on that step on that corner, because I got a gate there, and I even sit there and I cry. You know what I mean? Like, because I let that person know, whoever did it. Like, you didn't take anybody. You took someone who meant something to someone.
Yeah.
Like, you just didn't take anybody. You took you took my husband. You took my daughter's father, because now my Mary Lynn has to grow up without a father.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. That means you're interested. I mean, this is like the start of an activist right here.
Absolutely.
This is the beginning of an activist. This is what it looks like.
voice over here.
This is what it looks like, just like this.
Yeah,
And this is
like,
where it begins.
I still cry. Like, nobody. Like, I tell you, like, nobody can take this man's place for me. Like, nobody.
Yeah.
Like, this is.
Yeah, I say that about
telling
Talbert too. We can move on with our life.
I have a
we have.
boyfriend and
We have,
everything,
right? We
but
moved
nobody,
on.
Like, my boyfriend was calling me. I even put my phone on vibrate. But nobody.
Yeah.
Like, this man is
I'm
my
telling you.
world. Like, he's my world.
Yeah.
That's my ride or die partner.
Yeah. I'm glad you're here. Yep.
Me too, Heather, and thank you so much for sharing with us. It takes a lot to even open up and share, especially with people you don't know. But I hope you find some healing in this for sure.
I can sit here and just talk your ears off about this, man.
Well, you know what? I think it's important. That's a good way to let people know that, you need to go out. You need to find a support group. You need to find people who support you, people who share that common, that common bond, that common thread that brings us together. So, Heather, once again, thank you so much for sharing. And I truly hope that you find some justice and find some peace in all this mess somewhere, okay? Thanks for coming out today, Heather.
Of course.
Awesome. And we'll be right back in a few minutes. This is Britt Carpenter. Will be a voice on Usla Radio. Wow, Roz, what a crazy day it's been so far, just sitting here in this pouring down rain. A lot of people in and out of the tent. A lot of people, a lot of food.
Yes.
Got to get on the treadmill after this weekend just because.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I'm going to get to a treadmill.
This is crazy.
I probably need to catch up on some sleep.
It's all right. You're going to be, I bet you will. I bet. Do you get sleep out here at all when you're out here?
No, I probably get like 3 hours.
Really?
That's it.
What? Because your mind's going, the noises, what?
The noise, the ambulance, the gunshots, the helicopter. I mean, we are right here in the elements. We are in everything. The sounds. We are everything. We're in a mix.
It's crazy.
We got, cars in the back getting fixed.
It's crazy. You
Tires.
got everything happening. Yeah, this is it. This is about as outside in the city as you can get.
Yes.
And you hear it, so it's difficult to sleep.
Yeah.
Is it exhausting getting up to this point of this weekend, preparing for it?
It's always exhausting getting up to this.
Yeah.
So by the time you actually do the camp out, you're tired.
Yeah, and you should be camping out and sleeping, but you don't.
But I can't because it's a lot of stuff that's involved. A lot of connections that need to be made, a lot of conversations that need to be had. It's just like it's never ending until the tents are down.
What's your adrenaline like up until this point? What's, getting this ready, getting these pictures? I mean, not just adrenaline, but the memories being drudged up, the emotions. What do you like?
I like when people come back and say, Roz helped me do something about my son's murder or my dad's murder. Roz helped me. I like to motivate people or just give people some hope because, a lot of times people don't know how to do it or where to start. So even something as simple as putting your photo up on the fence, you've made the step.
That's right.
And then now the momentum is going.
Just show up.
Yeah, just show the hell up.
Just show up, like we said.
And this was great that, so many people are coming, and I know people will come back as long as I keep the momentum going, as long as I keep their faces going on social media and throughout when I do the displays throughout the city. As long as we keep that going, people will never be forgotten.
And you keep it going. You are a voice. You're a consistent voice. Your voice is consistently active for those who can't be a voice for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. We need more of that. With Heather over here, who just spoke to us before, Heather was talking about, there was somebody had to see something. And, living over here, the last thing anybody wants to do is say that they saw something.
Right.
Because the minute they do, themselves, their families, you never know what can happen. The jeopardy. So they're afraid, the fear. We as people live in fear nowadays. Yeah. And it really is one of the worst things to feel. And you yourself have dealt with not just your brother. You've dealt with your boyfriend. You yourself have been the victim of gun violence by being shot at. Why? Why do you keep coming back at this stage, Roz? What is that reason?
So I believe that if someone commits a crime like murder or attempted murder, you need to suffer the consequences. You need to serve time. Even though in my case that didn't happen, even though Donald shot at me, threw me over the bridge, and then that same day murdered my boyfriend, I felt like I wasn't going to fear him after he did that. I'm going to tell somebody what you did. I'm going to make sure that it doesn't happen to someone else. So I feel like that it's important for me to speak up and be a voice for Talbert, who is no longer here, and for many other people who think that it's okay to be silent. It's not. And then not only the fact, when you talk about people telling, sometimes there is like repercussions to that, where people are like myself, who was intimidated, who had a gun put to my face several times and tell me, oh, don't testify. But you know what? I told. And I told on the person who tried to intimidate me. Now, he served 2 years in prison, and he apologized every day that he was in there. Every day he wrote me a letter.
Really?
Apologizing.
Really?
And yeah, we're friends. We're good friends now. His name is Nathaniel Brown. And we are good friends.
So the man who shot at you?
No.
No.
The one who intimidated me.
You.
Yeah.
So a man who intimidated a witness, intimidated you, spent 2 years in jail, wrote to you every day, and now you and he have a connection and you're friends.
Oh yeah, we're friends.
So, let's...
We were connected since we were young. Like, we were friends when we were young. And because we had the same circle with Donald, he's like, oh, it was just the pressure of his family telling me that I can't tell. I'm not allowed to tell. So.
Wow. But so you were able to forgive?
I forgave him.
Yeah.
We're friends to this day. And he knows what it is now, unfortunately, to suffer from gun violence. He was shot himself after he came home from prison. And of course, he was a drug dealer and all that stuff. He lost all his friends. And guess who was the only one there?
You.
Me. This guy is now an amputee. He lost his leg because of the gunshot. I was the only one who helped him with his rehab. He had no friends. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, And what drives somebody like yourself, Roz, to be able to forgive somebody like that? I mean, what he did to you, that's uncalled for. What he did to you was he made you fear for your life a little bit, or a lot.
Yeah.
But yet, what makes you able to forgive? I think it's important for people to know that forgiving is possible, but what makes you able to forgive?
I mean, why not? I think for him, I knew that it was, because I knew him, I knew this wasn't coming from him. I felt like, this is not you. Although, he sold drugs like marijuana and stuff, I knew this wasn't him. This wasn't something he would do on his own, like somebody had to tell him to do this. And the fact that he would do it so openly in front of my house.
So you think this is pressures of society, of the environment?
It was the pressure of the family of Donald Williams.
Okay.
And Donald is another case. He's another case of what trauma does to somebody who's been affected by gun violence. So Donald was shot before he did what he did to me. Donald was a victim of a gunshot wound. He got shot in his leg and in his face. And I would say to his mother and to his family, he's changed. There's something different about him. He needs to go see someone. And it was as if I was talking to a brick wall. No one heard me. And that's when he became the person that we didn't know. The shooter, the abuser, the paranoid person, the one who almost took my life, the one who murdered Talbert. He became this person that I no longer recognized.
And I think that's a very common thing, that people who don't actually face the trauma that they've experienced, in their past, that they grow up or they grow into that role of the abuser of some type, or of being that person who bestows the violence. Yeah. And I see that happen a lot. We see that happen in many things, whether it's with the gun violence or it's with, anything as far as like sexual assaults or physical abuse that happens. And, because people aren't willing to talk about it, we're not able to have these conversations, Yeah. But, because of what you do, Roz, you open up the doors to everybody. You open up avenues to people. You have people that just come in and you accept them. They accept you. And last night you had some people that came out. They stayed with you overnight in the tent in this freezing cold weather. And one of them is still sitting here with you today, and that is Israel. Hey, Israel, how you doing, buddy?
Hi, Israel.
Hello.
It's good to see you today, my friend.
It's good to see you, too.
So, Israel, let me ask you a question. What made you be crazy enough to come out here and spend the night in a tent with, well, not just alone with Roz, but yet let alone in the elements out here in the community. What was your reason behind that?
That's a good question. I've known Roz just for a short amount of time, like a little bit over 2 years. And but from what I've known, I'm really inspired, actually, personally, by her initiatives and stuff like that, and how passionate she is about what she does. So last night, I was at work, and I was working late, and I saw a post on Facebook, and thanks God for social media, because I completely didn't know, and I was like, you know what, this is perfect. This is perfect. I get out of work at 3 o'clock in the morning. I can probably shoot right over there, spend the night, and yes, it was cold, and it was raining, and it was late, but I'm learning a lot, and I'm just inspired in all actuality. I wasn't expecting that. I really was. I was kind of losing faith in what was going on in this part of the city, but she's completely reinstated the, faith in me.
That's awesome. That's so amazing to hear. And let's face it. You're part of this community. This is your community.
Yes.
What do you think about what's been going on here? Over the last few years. What do you think about what's been happening?
Well, I think it's probably the saddest thing ever. You have high murder rates. You have the opioid crisis, and things like gentrification, and so many other things. But just the crime itself, the murders being number one on that, and rape and so on and so forth. But just to talk about gun violence and murder, it's probably the saddest thing. And what I mean by sad is that it's you can see it. You can see it in people. We all have similar faces, the ones that struggle, and you can see, in the face and in the demeanor overall. Even random people, when they come in, it's just they just tell you, just trying my best to survive. And like I said, but we have the potential to curb and increase the peace and stop the violence is the only thing we can propose.
And I love it. It's so funny because I was going to ask you a question and you sort of segued right into it. So you cut me off on the question. So I love it. But you said that increase the peace. Those three symbols, increase the peace. It's something that has been said for many, many decades. Back in the 70s, it was increase the peace with all the wars, the 60s and 70s. And, nowadays, you're not hearing about the peace. You're hearing about the violence. How do you stop the violence? You got to increase the peace. So, Israel, how do we do that? How do we do it?
That's a good question, man. I'm not sure if I'm the most qualified to answer that.
It's all your opinion, my friend. Really. It's not an expert. I don't think it's the answer of life. So.
This is my take. For 2 years, I became active. Prior to that, I was not. So I really do think it's a point in time when it's a breaking point. So every time I talk to people or I do Facebook Live, I say peace and love. That's what I start off with. And it sounds corny and tacky, like peace and love. That's what I say. I say peace and love. Until I see that manifest, I guess I can't stop saying it. You know what I'm saying?
Who's it corny and tacky to?
I'm sorry?
Who's it corny and tacky to? Who do you think? You?
No,
or?
well, see, the thing is, it's just peace, love, kind of seemed like a hippie, antiquated, a very retro way. Because also just to answer your question, people think that peace is such a complicated thing. But I don't think it's complicated at all. I think we overcomplicate it, trying to establish what's, like what you just asked, what's peace, what's not, what's my logic versus your logic. But it's just the absence of suffering. So wherever there's the absence of suffering, there's going to be peace. And it's just that simple. You don't have to add or subtract. Wherever the absence of suffering, there's going to be peace.
I love that. I love that absence of suffering. And that's an amazing thing that a lot of people don't look at, that there is that absence of suffering. There is that point where suffering isn't a part of it. And I enjoy listening to everything you have to say about that. It just makes me really believe that, that there is hope, that there's hope for people because you yourself are a voice. You're a voice in your community.
Sure.
If you're doing Facebook Live and you're starting out saying, peace and love, you're a voice in your community. Who are you speaking to when you do that?
Who am I speaking to?
Yeah.
Well, for the most part, whoever's listening.
Exactly. And what do we do this for? We speak so whoever is listening will hear us and they'll hear our voice and it'll be a reach. and it'll reach to, if it reaches to 2 people, those 2 people will take it to 2 more people, and now you got 4, and that doubles. So to hear you say that, my friend, you yourself are a voice. You're an activist. You're out there. You're advocating for this community. So I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you
That's
so
awesome.
much.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming out last night. Thanks for the things that you do and, keeping Roz company. And did she snore at all?
No, not at all.
No, come on now.
No.
I know she snores.
There were so many, the traffic was out there, and it was.
That's why none of us ain't hardly sleep.
And I'm coming back tonight as well.
You are?
Right after work, 3 o'clock in the morning. Come right here straight. And,
Bring a sound machine.
I wish we had one of those.
You want, yeah. But yeah, well, thank you once again, Israel. I
Sure,
appreciate it.
thank you.
And thanks for taking the time to share with us.
No problem. Absolutely.
Awesome. We'll be back in a few seconds. This is Britt Carpenter. Will be a voice on Usula Radio. And welcome back, everybody. And it really sounds like the rain is dying down at this point in time.
Hallelujah.
Oh my gosh. I don't know, though. I was sort of hoping it was going to rain a little bit more because got some hat head going on here and was going to get that, make it look a little pretty.
No. We need to make it stop raining. We need it to stop raining.
But it's not that cold. It could be bitter
not
cold. It's the rain. So, and it will. The skies will open up and it's going to be a beautiful day and things will continue to go.
Tap the rain off the tent.
How many more hours you got here in this tent?
I don't know. I'm leaving tomorrow.
What time?
I don't know. Probably. I really don't know. 2.
So at least
Whatever.
24 hours yet, right?
Yeah.
So another 24 hours out here. Roz, we talk about this all the time because you and I, have been advocates and activists and crisis responders and voices in our community for many years in different capacities. We talk about how people can make a difference. We talk about why we do this. We talk about self-care. We talk about, what people out in the community don't want to do to help us and want to just bring people back. What is the one thing that you could tell everybody that they can do to make a difference daily? What's the one thing, Roz?
At least in my community, is to meet people exactly where they are in their life and not try to change someone. And until someone is ready, just meet them where they are in their life. And that's talking about folks who are either in active addiction or suffering from homelessness. And even to coming out to an event like this where I'm, working to bring awareness to gun violence and show up.
Yep. Once again, that show up. People that show up is such an important thing. In all these years, when I first started my community activism and everything, I knew nothing about gun violence. I knew nothing about that type of that type of trauma. I didn't know anything that really was affected by it. I met you, Roz. You opened my eyes to so much. You made me actually become a voice. For those that are affected by it, and it's incredible that people aren't more vocal about this because there's so much happening. Mm-hmm. And, we talked a little bit about it with Heather before when we were talking. We talked about the fear of people speaking up. We talked about the community, around here that they don't want to talk because they've got to live here. What words of encourage,ment or words of advice can you give to people that if they see it, they can do, that they need to do? What?
A lot of people don't want to talk about it, don't want to speak about it, don't want anybody to know that they told or that they spoke about any information about a homicide or whatever act of violence. But there's ways that you can relay the information where you can be anonymous. You just call the tip line 215-686-TIPS and give them the information to whatever homicide or violence that has occurred, and you don't have to. You can be anonymous.
And that's 215-686-TIPS.
Yep.
And that could be an anonymous tip line. If they see anything, they know anything, they hear anything, call it. It's anonymous.
Yes.
They'll follow up on those tips. It's an anonymous thing.
And they give you a code. So you call the tip line. You don't need to leave any names, obviously. They'll give you a code. So if there's an arrest for that case and a conviction, then whatever reward or whatever incentive, whatever, they'll get it. So
what would lead me to call that tip line? Still in my head, I'm thinking to myself, no, I don't want to, I'm not going to open my mouth because they're still going to know. What's that reassurance for somebody?
For one, you got to tap into your human self. You got to tap into your heart because Imagine if it was their mother, their father, their sister, you gotta show compassion for our fellow human beings.
Yes, you do.
And
Yes.
it's not about us anymore. We gotta start living for the people as well. I mean, people are dying left and right, and people are talking about all this politics and all this, the president insurance, this, Medicare, that's. Listen, you ain't gonna have no people that keep killing each other.
Absolutely. That is the truth.
You're not gonna have no people.
No. And, it's something you said there that, that people need to speak up because of the fact that humanity is worth it. They're worth it. Everybody is somebody's somebody. We say
right.
that all the time. Everybody is somebody's someone. And everybody knows somebody. So the reach of all these issues, whether it be the opioid epidemic, whether it be homelessness, whether it be gun violence, whether it be sexual assaults, everybody has a connection to somebody that's experienced this trauma somehow.
Yeah.
And I think that the more that we talk about it and the more that we become voices, we come together, the more people are going to listen and start speaking up towards, against, for victims, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But it's just so important to be that voice. Roz, is there any point in time where you ever just say to yourself, I'm tired?
I've said I'm tired. I've said it before, but I got to put this in perspective, right? I gotta say, my brother's no longer here. My boyfriend Talbert is no longer here. My dad is no longer here. So it's very, very important that I put things in perspective in my heart, in my mind, and in my spirit, because at the end of the day, I'm also speaking for someone at the cause of the ripple effect of gun violence that has occurred in my life. Like, I've had an issue with the one who murdered my boyfriend.
Right.
He murdered my boyfriend, and he murdered my boyfriend, served only 15 years in prison to get out and murder again. So let's talk about the ripple effect. He only served 15 years.
15 years.
15 years.
Got out.
And murdered a woman by the name of Maria Serrano. So let's talk about, do I get tired? I get tired, yeah. But it's so many things that so many people that I feel like I need to be a voice for. And that's my brother. That's Talbert. That's Nathaniel. That's Maria Serrano. That's the ripple effect of losing my dad a year after my brother's death. It's so many people that I gotta be a voice for. I gotta be a voice for my twin sister who's no longer here. All because of gun violence.
Also gun violence. All this, and in essence, by you doing this and by you being a voice for all those people, you're actually being a voice for yourself.
This is the healing process right here.
This is your healing.
This is the healing. If it wasn't for this, I don't know. I'll probably be with my twin sister, who killed herself.
Yeah, I know, and I think that's why most people who do what you do and what I do, what we do, and our colleagues do, we do it because it's a healing process for us. It's some type of trauma that we've gone through personally that has affected us to some level that we need to do something to ensure that those that are suffering or going through it now have some type of empathetic person to give them hope.
Yeah, but then you got to remember, we're crisis responders, right? But we got to keep each other accountable.
Yeah, we do.
You got to check me, I got to check you, because, there's times where we're going through some stuff emotionally, because this work is emotionally draining.
It is.
And we got to check each other. That's just what it is.
And we have.
We sure have.
We certainly have. There have been times we have checked each other.
I'm like, Britt, who you talking to? You're not talking to me.
But the
call
best part
about you call me back.
But hold on, we have one thing. Go ahead.
Okay, like you were saying, like it emotionally and physically drains us. It does. It really does.
Yeah.
It honestly does. Like, I've been to therapy. I did all of it. Like I've been to therapy.
Yeah.
Like, I even lost my sister almost 2 years ago from kidney disease. I even went to her to go talk to her before I lost her, and I even like talked to her about it. Like, you know, like I'd even sit at his memorial, and I even sit there and I cry, and I sit there and I talk to him.
That's our therapy.
Yeah,
That's the therapy. That's the healing.
Because I sit there and you know, I want that person to see. Like, you didn't just take anyone. Like, you took somebody who meant something to someone.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
You know, and the person who did it, you know, it was around the corner, from his memorial. You know, I want that person people or whoever did it, I want you to see something. You know, like, you didn't take anybody, like, you took something who meant something to someone.
Yeah, that's
you know,
right.
Like, and my 6-year-old daughter, she'll be 7 next month. You know, like, now she has to grow up with no father.
Well,
And we're filming. Give us 1 second. Thank you.
we'll just do a break, Dylan. Is that cool? We can. Okay, hold on. And I think that's a really great way to, like, you know, put it all in a summation, is that, you know, what Heather said, and Heather came in, is that, you know, she wants people to see that on a daily basis that this is somebody, that you took somebody, that we're all humans. And Roz, you do such a great way of showing the human side to everything that you do. You give everybody a voice. You believe in everybody. You will fight for everybody. You give people chances. You even told us you give people chances, you know, that you probably shouldn't have. And most people wouldn't. They would write off. And I love you for that.
I love you too.
I think you're one of the most amazing people in the world. And if this city does not know about you, you need to check out Roz Pichardo of Operation Save Our City. You just need to Google that, and you will find a plethora of information on this lady, because she has been one of the most steadfast pieces of healing in this community that I've seen in a while. Roz, what's one last thing you want to say before we go?
Peace out.
And that's the best way to do it. Peace out, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Roz, thanks for doing this and bringing awareness to things that need to be brought awareness to. It's been a great day. I love you to death once again. You have an amazing day, everybody. This is Britt Carpenter, Be a Voice on News Radio. Take care.